Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to make some or a lot of money on the internet. We hope. Loaded up for discussion today. We've got the majors, a bit of a look at the majors holding steady on a bit of a quieter weekend in general. But there was also the Hyperliquid whale who shorted $300 million of Bitcoin, and crypto Twitter traders gathered to try to liquidate them. We'll have that story for you. And then the final headline is Good Vibes Club on the NFT side, surging past a 0.4 ETH floor now. We'll be discussing that and what that means for the rest of the market in general. We've also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs as usual, plus a general discussion on what we think is going on and what it's worth allocating your attention towards for the moment. I've got Legendary and Bread with me in the co-host seats. We're ready to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, nothing that we do or say here is financial advice. The market is very, very risky. We don't know anything for sure. So please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Monday. It is the 17th of March. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
GM doing pretty well. I've been to a restaurant over the weekend that made me think of you, Bread, because it had a bread sommelier. And the way they start off the meal there, or the dinner service there, is they have a selection of a total of 20 breads. And this guy can tell you everything about them, from like very typical bread to bread stuffed with liver, sausage, to all kinds of things that you can and cannot imagine. And he revisits you throughout the like 6 or 7 courses, 3 to 4 times, and is a good way to taste, I don't know, like 10 to 15 different breads over the course of an evening.
He knows nothing about me, Jon Snow.
I hope
no crypto breads on the menu.
No crypto breads.
I hope that there's some like deep love or appreciation that you have for actual bread, because otherwise the amount of times people just get excited about your name being Bread and then just telling you stuff about bread, it'd be a travesty.
Yeah, so I love it. And second of all, I have my own bread story from this weekend, because I went to the local farmer's market and I got jalapeno pretzels, like a pretzel loaf, really good. And then I got an olive sourdough. It was actually it was tasty. My problem is, you should eat that with stuff, but I will literally just sit there and like walk it around like a football and just like chunk off it and eat the whole fucking thing by myself. So it gets me into trouble, but I love it.
I feel you. I feel you on that, on both the love for bread, but also on the name thingy. I think you have a clear advantage because, you know, you love bread. Bread's cool. Legendary, you can imagine how often I get the, How I Met Your Mother legend, wait for it, dairy joke. Like, I just can't take it anymore if this is the way how people slide into my DMs.
You had a little bit of a name change though a while ago. Legendary, you went from what was your previous? Legendary NFT. Legendary NFT. Legendary underscore NFT to Legendary Gains. How's that sitting with you these days? Are you happy with that name adjustment?
Pretty good, yeah. I'm quite happy with it. I don't like that it's Gains and underscore, because Legendary Gains was not available, and obviously I'll never get the Legendary handle because the movie studio owns it and they won't give it to me, given that I am an irrelevant.
You've tried, you've bid it, but
$1 company. Yeah, I won't get that one. Although someone allegedly from X reached out to me and told me that if I pay them mid 5-figure sum, they will take it away from Legendary, the movie studio, and give it to me. And I'm like, I could do that, but I'm pretty sure Legendary, the movie studio, will just get it and take it back, and they probably will sue me, or I just get scammed.
Mine is much less sexy. Mine's owned by a baker in New Jersey. Bread guy, just Bread guy without the 0x in front of it. I've talked to him. I found it because he's got his name on there. It's like George Fiorno or some shit. He's like apparently decently famous. Does not use Twitter. He hasn't posted in like fucking 4 years or something like that. Found him on Facebook. And
so you went.
Yeah, I found him. I found the MFer. He uses Facebook, and he left me on red. He fucking saw my message. I was like, bro, this is weird. I get it. I'll pay you for this thing. Nothing. No, just
did you put a bid in? Did you put the number in that you?
I give him numbers. No, maybe that was my mistake.
Maybe that would get a reply.
Just buy his company.
that would be the next. I get everything you want.
Look, you can give me the handle, or I'm coming for the business. For the business. Funky, welcome to the stage, my man. How do you want to weigh in here on these name changes?
GM, we are clearly men of the same ilk. Let me just start there by saying, like, is legendary. As soon as you start talking about the bread sommelier, I was telling my wife about it. We both love bread. And she's like, why would you even need a meal if you have 20 different breads? You just fill up on bread. And bread, I am definitely that guy that would walk around like a football and just tear it off in chunks and eat it. Like, that was the hardest thing in Paris. We just wanted to walk around with baguettes and just eat those things all damn day. And just a real quick hint, Brett, you can actually go to X and say that that account is inactive. And if they have like 4 years of no posting, you might be able to snipe the name away. So there is a way to go about it to X support and actually show them the name that you want and say, this account's inactive. This is what I'm known by. And you might be able to get it and have X just surrender it to you.
As long as they can transfer it to me, because I've talked to the black market dealers and they're like, you have to switch your posting to the new thing because there's like so many people that are ready to snipe these names. Like if you try to like change it on one and then change it on your other, like your active profile, like people will just snipe it in the interim. They have scripts watching that shit. So it's like, if they can actually facilitate, I guess that's what Kobe probably did, right? Because Kobe now just has the Kobe handle. He didn't used to have that. Because he had enough people from X to do it for him. So, okay. Maybe we're on to something here.
Another few 500,000 followers, Brad, and then you'll be able to twist their arm.
To do the Kobe thing, yeah.
Yeah. Just a cool 700,000 followers, I think he's up to now, if not more. Interesting stuff. Right, let's get into it. A lot of interesting stuff going on in the market. So starting with price action, as usual with the majors, we have pretty tame market at the moment. We've settled in here with Bitcoin at around 83K, Ethers at 1.9, XRP is at 230, BNB is at 636, and Solana is down a couple of percent to 128. On the meme coin side of things, we have Doge up a percent to 17, Pepe's up a couple of percent, Trump is down a percent, WIF is flat, Pengu's up a couple, but Pengu's up 20% in the last 7 days. So that seems to have formed a bottom wherever that was 7 days or so ago. Bartcoin is up 35% on the week as well, but down 10% if you're trading that. Wow, super volatile all the time. We have AI16Z down 5% to 20 cents. We have MOG up 5%. We have Peanut down 10%, up 10% on the week. Though I remember that got listed out Robinhood along with a couple of other kind of the bigger memes. And we have AIXBT down 8% to 11 cents. I think that's the majority of stuff on the meme side. Getting into the headlines themselves, as I said, Major has been pretty steady. Legendary is going to give us a bit of a update on where we are in the general market at the moment on majors and what there is to look forward to in the next week. Hyperliquid whale shorted $300 million of Bitcoin, and crypto traders gathered to try to liquidate them. Brad's going to take us through what was going on there in just a little bit. And on the NFT side, Good Vibes Club. This is pretty big news, I think. We haven't really seen this very often recently. Surging from a 0.069 mint less than a week ago to a 0.38 floor. It's gone past 0.4 now. So huge price action on a new NFT collection, although it has to be said, it's been around for a while, kind of cooking and building. So we'll discuss that a little bit and what that might mean for the general NFT market and meme coins, actually, as related to that. And Legendary, is there anything else we need to know on the NFT side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a quick look. Obviously, you mentioned Good Vibes Club. We're going to talk about that later in the show. But as you said, it went above 0.4 ETH, 0.44 ETH right now. And it's been a bit of an active weekend, at least for the NFT side of things. We've seen autoglyphs moving. Obviously, if one of them is moving, the floor price is also increasing significantly on them. We've seen Fidenzas moving. We've seen some more volume in the memes by 6529 collection. So definitely a bit of a, I don't want to call it art season because that's an extreme exaggeration, but some punctual interest in art and art-related NFTs picking up again. And that is on the back of the rest of the majors, the Bored Apes, the Pudgy Penguins, just continuing to bleed further down the floor price chart.
Yeah, as you say, huge action. We kind of reported on it, the sales last week, but Sam Spratt masks of Lucy went from a 2.5 ETH mint to around a 7 to 8 ETH floor. I think it's around that region still now.
Did you get one?
Yes, I minted. So that was quite a nice increase. But
Was that just a whitelist thing, or did you have to do something to like play the game? Because I know there's like a game component to this thing, right?
No, so this one you had to be one of those, he's got two, now there's three kind of tiers or aspects to his collection. You've got the skulls at the top, those are the ones that sell for like 80 ETH. Not many of those. So if you were a skull holder, you got given, I think you could either get some for free or you just got to mint. So you kind of got the whitelist. Then he's got the players editions, which was another couple hundred. You'd get 1 mint. And if you were a player holder, you could either, you'd get 1 mint for yourself and you were asked to invite someone in. So it was like an invite process to get in. I was invited by a friend who works at Hivemind, actually, that big NFT art fund that goes around buying all of those Fidenzas and Rafik Anadols. So I was invited, but then there was also like a public component as well, where there was like a bit of a like a raffle style thing. So everyone paid the same price though, I think, in the end. Apart from maybe some skull holders who might have got them for free. I can't remember exactly. But they actually came out at mint price, around the mint price. So they came out at like 7, 8K. So if you still wanted to get one in the end, it was like available on the secondary market at around that price, more or less.
You had quite a lot of time to pick one up. I think they were sitting, even once they moved up, the initial move was to 3.5-ish ETH. So even if you were to just pay 1 ETH more, you had, I would even say, hours, which is plenty of time to buy into that collection.
Yeah, because the mint price was actually a bit higher because ETH was about 2.5K when we minted like a month ago. So the mint price was actually around 6-ish, I think, 6K or something like that. So yeah, maybe we'll touch on that a little bit as well as we discuss NFTs a little bit later. But getting into the rest of the roundup to get you up to speed with everything else that has been happening, we have OKX pausing their DEX aggregator to address recent unsuccessful efforts by Lazarus to misuse their DeFi services. We had the Telegram founder released by France, and that's Pavel Durov. The TON token jumped 20%. As a consequence, we like to see that bullish price action on Freedom. Aave confirmed there would be no new token for RWA product line Horizon after DAO feedback. They were considering whether this new product that they were going to build out to bring RWAs on chain as well would have its own token. And it seems like the DAO voted to continue to drive value to its single token. And then finally, Kaito had a bit of a scare over the weekend where the X account of the founder and the official account was hacked. But it kind of resolved itself quite quickly. The price started to decline quite quickly, but then it recovered. Interestingly, the style of hack was not to hack and post a contract address.
A drainer.
They didn't do that. What they decided to do was just say that the accounts were hacked and
open a short.
Yeah, I think they opened a short against the token, and then it kind of got resolved, and then the price rebounded pretty quickly. So a little bit of drama there. Seems like it got worked out. I think they're still looking into what happened there and how that can be prevented again in the future. So that is that. That's the roundup. Slightly quieter than the average weekend. I guess we can get a sense of that. But before we get in to the main stuff, Ledge, anything catching your attention there? Anything I've missed out? Are you sensing as well? It's like slightly quieter. Then want to come to you, Brett, to get your thoughts.
Slightly quieter, yeah. I do want to double down on the Aave thing. First of all, great that this is the result of the DAO process, and this is very, very good to see that they're not going for a second token. And additionally, what I wanted to double down on Aave is last week, I think, on Base, they integrated EURC. I still don't know what the best way to pronounce this. It's Circle's Euro stablecoin on Base. So EuroC or EURC, whatever. And I think that's going to be super interesting because with the volatility that Trump has introduced to the markets, the dollar is moving quite strongly, is getting significantly weaker. Like before he started his presidency, we almost traded on parity with the euro. Historically, the euro's always been stronger than the dollar. think in the most extreme case, what was it, like 5-6 years ago, it was €1 to 1.3, $1.4. And then for most of the last 3 years, it was €1 is $1.1. And we almost reached parity. And now the dollar is losing strength again. And given the fact that you now have more custodians, you also have more European businesses, obviously using crypto, and you have this dollar volatility, this is becoming sort of an issue because you just don't want to have that FX risk, that currency risk on your balance sheet necessarily. However, with USC Circle's Euro stablecoin, again, the market cap is like 130, so 140 mil. So that's an even bigger risk at the moment, because even if you just hold a mil, and say just hold a mil, but from a company's perspective, that's nothing. Basically, you hold almost 1% of the euro supply, quote unquote. You don't want to have that much exposure there. But I've also heard it from a couple of companies who just want to basically have a dollar trade going. And the easiest way, if the market cap for the euro stablecoins is to go up, which in my opinion it will strongly, the easiest way to enter FX trades now on chain is to just trade the euro against the dollar on stable coins. And I do think this is going to become more and more relevant over the next, 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I do think I agree with you that the number of the number of other currencies or the euro will rise in terms of its market cap too. My sneaky suspicion, though, I know what you mean, that the dollar's been getting weaker. I don't know if there'll be that much appetite for currencies that are not the dollar. I think there will obviously be a certain proportion, but I think it will be a declining proportion as time goes on, as people want to transact in stable coins. And when they think of stable coins, I think most people are just around the world on a more global basis going to just keep getting attracted to the dollar, because I think that's the way we notice the way that we do business. Like when we talk about any deals with anyone, we quote in dollars and we transact in dollars. So
that's true. And what's also interesting is that is very true. I do think we'll see at least a couple bill for euro stablecoins, which just makes it more feasible. But what we've certainly started to see is that the European Union is pushing as strongly as they can to accelerate the timeline for their euro digital currency, for their CBDC, which is, I think, a result to obviously Trump's strong politics of A, embracing Bitcoin, and B, being very, very stablecoin friendly, and just seeing that now the total stablecoin market cap is way above $200 billion. And the European Union has not really any response to that so far. And it's not going to be the URC, you're 100% right about that. So this, in my opinion, explains the recent very, very strong push for accelerating their digital euro timeline.
Just on this point, very quickly, I saw this interesting tweet. I just managed to find it as well. Just want to share this with you, Legendary, because as a European, you find this interesting. I think everyone will find this interesting because it gets to the heart of why we're doing crypto in some ways. And it's, the relationship with banks is super important. This was a tweet from the CIO. Yes, CIO of Bitwise. Obviously, they run one of the biggest Bitcoin ETFs. They shared this yesterday on how the ECB is dealing with the amount of money people can store in digital euros. So they say it will limit the amount of money people can store in digital euros, in their words, to prevent excessive outflows of deposits from banks. In his opinion, he said it's never a good sign when you have to lock people in. So the specific wording in this document that he's quoting was, we would set a limit for the amount of digital euros that a person or company could hold in their digital euro wallet. This would help prevent excessive outflows of deposits from banks, preserving financial stability. Slightly confused by that, in the sense that each euro I would imagine, need to be backed by a euro in the bank. That's kind of how stablecoins work, although a lot of it's parked in treasuries too. So
do you know how low that limit is? The initial discussions, the central bank, I think it was in January, had proposed for that limit to be just 3K. That is very, very, very low. And it's a typical EU approach. Like, we want to have an answer to stablecoins, but we don't kind of want to go all in. So we come up with a digital currency, but let's limit everyone's cap to 3K, which ultimately is then like, you have more in your PayPal balance if you like use that often to buy stuff. Like 3K is not a lot of money.
Yeah, interesting. I wanted to bring that up just to get a sense of where these other major stable coins are going. So appreciate you bringing that up. Brad, what's going on your side? Anything to add here on this, or anything else catching your attention before we hit the main headlines today?
Yeah, my takeaway is that we are now 2 shows in a row talking about governance. So I think combined with the B-check workout indicator, we are squarely in the bear market now, which is fun.
Okay.
It's just good to have that confirmation now, so we can
You're
embrace
so
it
right.
and go forward.
You're so right.
Yeah.
So we need to be making an official list of this, by the way. So it's 1, health maxing.
Yep.
The proportion of your life dedicated to physical activity. If that goes too high, you're in a bad market. 2 was, what was it? Suits.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Suits at
The suits
conferences.
ratio. Yep.
The more suits there are at conferences, the less volatility there's going to be in the market.
Yep.
And that's on the way up, we think.
And our governance
3,
headlines.
3, talking about DAOs and governance. I like it. This is going to be an elite checklist of. We'll be able to plot this on top of the Fair and Greed Index or that Open Fear chart or whatever.
On the Bitcoin price, yeah, and just put some little dots on there. It makes sense. But
Extreme, it's where he talks about the euro-dollar trade to be the most attractive thing to look at the moment.
I mean, it's actually a legitimate thing too. Like I know we're kind of joking about it, but like, I mean, if you believe stablecoins are like the main thing, I know we referenced like Forex trading coming on chain recently, and again, like this is just more indications that in that direction. You just said you believe it to be true. At least it feels ripe, and you're hearing appetite for it. I think, yeah, it's so obvious, right? Like if the U.S. stablecoins have grown to what they are, where they're basically dominating our industry, right? It makes sense to have a natural pair to that. EU or the euro being like the strongest second. Yeah, bring it on chain and just arb that shit, right? That just feels natural. There's plenty of trading appetite here.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's really interesting. One of the things that I've going into whatever cycle we're in, I've only been around since 2021, but one of the things I'm trying to lean into more is just giving myself the confidence to trust that the things that we are doing and experiencing and feeding, whether it's from the media perspective or whether it's from the business perspective, like reading those signs and saying like, look, if the only conversation that we are having is about dollars, then that's the thing. Like we've been deep in this stuff for long enough now to get a really good handle on both engagement and how people are perceiving things and how people are wanting to transact, because we've been doing this for enough time. And even when you're talking to people within the EU, for example, like it's dollars everywhere.
Yeah. And one more really, really exciting bit that I want to tack onto this just to elevate the conversation. I clicked on Bread Guy and he's followed me back now. So he got on here, didn't post a thing. The last post was in 2023, and he's now following me. So this guy, he knows. I don't think I even shared that this was my handle. I think I just followed him. Yeah, that guy. And now he follows me back. So he's aware of me. I will find him and I will get that handle.
In this guy's defense, Brad, and just for the people who are watching in,
he's way in, right?
He likes bread more than you, maybe. Yeah. And so his kind of claim to Bread Guy, he's got about 12.
He's a literal baker, so I mean, who am I?
Dude, imagine this guy was somehow stumbling upon our show on YouTube and seeing some weird crypto bros talking about him and pulling up his ex profile.
Yeah, is this like singling him out? We do not condone any messaging towards the real Bread Guy about this. But look, he likes bread, but he's not active either, so can take him. Interesting. Okay. Well, we're gonna keep an eye on that, Brad. Keep us updated. Send him a number, and then we'll see.
Yeah, there's gonna be a saga. I'll let you guys know.
yeah, again, the bread guy saga is another indicator of where we are in the market. Getting back to the market, then we have a general discussion to have here. Led, you're going to take us through it. Obviously, the major's been steady over the weekend. What are you seeing there, and what are you seeing over the next week or so? Any events we need to keep an eye on? What's your assessment of the situation?
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the market a bit more from a general perspective and get the big negative thing out first. Recession fears, I'm sharing this on Polymarket, are at an all-time high. The question is US recession in 2025. That is up to 40%. Used to be at around 20-ish% for most of January and February, and recently in March has started to increase. And again, that figure is now up to 40%. That is definitely the biggest negative news to look at. In terms of some more positive things, we do have the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. Again, if you look at both of them over the period of the last month, yes, we are down 10%, but we've seen, at least on Friday, a nice rebound on the Nasdaq. We've seen the very same thing happening for the S&P 500 as well, up 100 points on Friday. In terms of what we're looking forward to this week, however, is the FOMC meeting to see what will happen to interest rates. They are in that 425 to 450 bips range. However, the consensus trade, again on Polymarket, is for the Fed decision. There's not going to be a change. It's almost at 100%. It's at 98.8% that interest rates, FOMC meeting is March 18th to 19th, will remain the same as they are now. However, and now we can move into something a bit more positive. If you look at that macroeconomics briefing by EY, which is basically aligning with what most major analysts are saying, is yes, they expect the rates to not change this week. However, they do see still 25 bips rate cuts to be expected by the end of the year, and then another 50 bips in 2026, and then a final rate cut to 3.1% for 2027. There's a bit of different views when it comes to other predictions for 26 and 27, but it seems like most analysts do agree that we're still good for 25 bips rate cuts towards the end of the year. And just more on the crypto price action, you said it at the top of the show, current prices are stable, but let's take a look at Polymarket, what Polymarket is thinking on what, there we go, on what BTC and ETH will do by the end of March. Question is, what price will Bitcoin hit by March 31st? 36 million volume in that. So quite a bit of volume. Consensus trade with 30% seems to be 75K. The next most likely trade is 95K with 20%. 16% believe it's going to trade at $70,000, and only 9% think we're going to go to 100. And if you basically aggregate everything, that's 100 and above, that's 13, 15, 16, 17% do still think that we're going to be either at 100K or above by the end of March. Very similar story for the ETH question. 13 million volume. What price will Ethereum hit by March 31st? Consensus trade with 16% here is 1.5K. And that is a bit more of a bearish outlook than for Bitcoin.
Super summary. I enjoy looking at these Polymarket odds. I guess an initial question I was wondering was, how are they defining a recession? I feel like that term has been played around with in general for a period of time. And also with Polymarket specifically, if you're going to be placing bets, we've mentioned multiple times on the show, you really, really have to look at the terms exactly as they are written to understand the definitions in the title. Sometimes that can be quite important.
They go for the standard definition of a recession, which is 2 quarters in a row without quarterly GDP growth. But they also have the additional clause in there to say, if the NBER, the National Bureau of Economic Research, at any point announces publicly that the US has been in a recession at any point in 2025, then this bet will resolve to yes as well. And then the second condition is exactly the quarterly GDP growth. So that is the typical definition of a recession. If that is fulfilled, it's going to resolve to yes. If for whatever reason we don't have this decline in GDP for 2 consecutive quarters, but the National Bureau of Economic Research still says US is in a recession. That's another win condition. If none of those two is met, it's going to resolve to a no.
Okay. One of the other thoughts that I've been thinking, Legendary, I'm curious to hear what you think on this. I think, obviously, the market, I mean, we've been speaking from the top of the year about how we thought things were, it was important to like stable up, or at least a proportion, take some chips off the table. We really went through a period of mania coupled with Trump's decision, coupled with inauguration and the now scattergun foreign policy and domestic kind of turbulence that Trump has instigated. So these two things have been happening at the same time. We had like absolute crypto mania in terms of meme coins, and then we also had this real volatility in foreign policy and domestic policy in the States. I guess we thought we would move lower as a consequence, or at a minimum that we have to cool off. I wonder now if people have got so bearish, and with the market being forward looking, this is me trying to, really put my thinking cap on. Will people think that it can get worse than here once it gets worse? Because right now people are thinking that it is, it's volatile. It's going to be worse. So that's like already beginning to get priced in, right? That's why Tesla went up as far as it did on inauguration, and then we halved. Or it gave up all of the gains post Trump election. So my question is, has the negativity and the uncertainty been priced in now? And do you think that the next set of pieces of information, which might genuinely be negative, might actually be the catalyst for something more positive? Because when that negative thing comes, it's all hope from there moving forward. That's like one of the ideas I'm playing with my head. Because I definitely think we're in a challenging period at the moment. But the point is we're forward looking. So general thoughts on that, Ledge?
I don't necessarily think so. I think if the negative is going to get more negative, then we will lose hope in the kind of positive catalyst, because I feel, yes, trillions have been liquidated from the stock market, but we still have this quote unquote positive picture of 2 rate cuts by the end of the year. Then you have this narrative of Trump is painting this market picture to force the Fed's hands to go for QE. But if for some reason that narrative goes away, or it just inflation, is increasing again, and we don't see the potential of rate cuts, then I feel like the positive catalysts fall away again, and then we go lower both in price and sentiment. So I don't think that this negative views coming to be a reality will trigger positive catalysts. I feel like it's just going to accelerate the downturn.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, my view is maybe I definitely think we have the capacity to go lower, especially because we're getting into the summer. And I think the summer is just always going to be a time where, well, we'll see. But historically, the summer's going to be a time to chill out regardless. But looking at the prices, I just feel like it's better buying now than it was 3 weeks ago, right? Or 4 weeks ago. So to the extent that there's something that you like, it's worth having a little nibble at it, I would say, at this point. That's my thinking. Where it's like, is it better buying hype at 13 than it was at 30? Yes. Like if you think hype is really good, this is markedly better than buying it at 30. If you think Bitcoin is good, buying it at 81 is markedly better than buying it at 109. And so I think, yeah, sure, we can go lower from here across the board on a variety of things. But if there are things which you think are good, could be worth taking a slice. That's my thinking. Okay. Brad, any thoughts on the market side, or what were you going to say?
So that you guys are gonna get a peek into my my non-trading brain. I forgot I put those stink bids in whenever all the ETH FUD was going on. I realized that those things are just out there. Like price could keep going down for the next 3 months, and I could just get that shit. Not intentionally. I wanted to get it for a quick swing, like in case all the liquidations that we were talking about. Like okay, you know, get it, bump back up 30%, great, where things win. I don't know that I want it if it bleeds down to that price over the next 3 months. I want it in a sharp spike for sure. Don't want it in a bleed. So I need to go and cancel that stuff. And if I don't, I give you guys permission to FUD me.
I mean, we're going to do that because you're not going to, unless you do that right here, right now.
I might do that right here, right now. If I'm
I think
being
it's
honest.
best.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do it right here, right now because we're coming to your segment. So maybe.
But
you know,
then.
Yeah. Okay. You can. If you don't do it now, it's not going to get done. So yes, cancel those bids. But
yeah. Do you want to co-host or not? Because like this is my livelihood we're talking about here.
That's true. The important thing though that you mentioned though, Brad, which I think is actually relevant, as well as your livelihood, which is also relevant, is this idea of like people wanting to catch the bottom and then spike back up fast, right? Whereas if it's this slow bleed down, I think that somehow psychologically hits at people much harder, because going down slowly, yeah, sure, you're supposed to like it because you can get the asset that you want at a cheaper price. But if you don't feel the adrenaline,
it's heavier that way. Yeah.
I know what you mean. But I think that might be what we're getting in this market, right? I feel like we're getting comfy here at 1.9, for example, for ETH, rather than being like, right, we're going to be back at 2.5 in the next couple of weeks. Like that's just what it feels like. Okay, that's that. Ledge, any final thoughts on market stuff? I thought it was interesting.
Nothing to add on that, no.
Okay, well, continuing a little bit on the market shenanigans over the weekend, Brad, do you want to break down what's going on with this Hyperliquid stuff? And Ledge, we'll come to you straight after because I know you were tweeting about it as well.
Yeah, this one was a lot of fun, actually. So just the headline itself was a Hyperliquid whale shorted 300 million of BTC with a liquidation price of just over 86.6, which was interesting. That like the fun part about Hyperliquid is obviously it's a perps platform, but the fact that everyone can see it, right? It's on chain, so there's like some gaming that can be played in the public square. So the first thing that I saw with this was they put their position on, they changed their name to Tether FUD, like on chain, because you could see that stuff. So like that fueled a little bit of the fire. What ultimately happened was because it was on chain, people could see it. CBB, who's a notorious farmer trader in the ecosystem, popular with Blur, Blast, Friendtech, he came back and he's like, all right, we're gathering people to hunt this position down, because obviously, you know, the liquidation price, you know how much how much funding they have, all this shit. So he started gathering people. They got about upwards of 7 figures, and said that, you know, they're going for 8 figures committed to it. They ultimately achieved that and made the attempt. At least, you know, that's the perception. The price did not spike to the ultimate liquidation price, and the actual trader themselves topped up, I think, another $5 million throughout the process to like defend himself against, or herself against, CBB and gang. And then at one point, I actually responded to Legendary's comment on this. Like CBB had teased that like Justin's son was in his DMs wanting to join the brigade, and he blurred out like the picture and the name in a way that I could clearly tell it was Justin's son. So like I don't know why I even tried to. It just says Justin's son right there. I don't know why you try to blur out the name and picture.
Just name, yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So that was funny, but yeah, ultimately it was not successful, but it is a fun theater for the weekend.
Interesting. Is this all legit? What's the analysis there? Was this definitely happening in the way they described?
Right? Yeah, it has to be, right? Like, so one, the initial position is on chain. You can see it. That's legit. The second thing is CBB, like getting people. Now, whether or not he actually like did it, right? We can't see like the actual like positions that he put on, he himself. But, you know, if you've heard his stories or, you know, CBB, you know that like he dabbles in this field, right? Like he's telling stories from back in 2021, like regaling us of like, oh yeah, we gathered $15 million in staked ETH so that whenever the proof of work fork happened, we could just nuke it for 600 grand. Like, yeah, he just does this stuff, right? Like he's always operated in size like this, which is, you know, fun. And I've met him in person, so like I know he's legit. He does this shit. So yeah, I think it's legit. We don't know his side of it, but the price reacted in a way that makes it appear like he actually attempted it. Now, part of it is the social sentiment aspect, where like just saying some of this shit, like the same thing with the Tether FUD name change, like saying and like putting this stuff into the world makes other traders do the thing you want it to do, right? So he changes into Tether FUD, he puts on a massive short, other people start shorting or like selling off to avoid the issues. And then same thing in this, where he comes together, he tries to make a big show out of it. People start buying because they want to get in, even if they're not in the official like cohort of people, and they think they're going to liquidate this guy. It becomes a game. So yeah, I think it's legit, but hard to say for sure.
Interesting. Thanks for the summary. That's interesting theatre as you described it. Legendary. What was your 2 cents on it? What was your conclusion from it? Any further takeaways?
Yeah, let's not get into the legal stuff and implications for that. But if you just look at on the weekend at the 15-minute chart for Binance, you can actually see there was a significant uptick in the market, and they got pretty close for the 15-minute tick to the liquidation price for that trader. I think the part that I like most about it is that you have this pair of Hyperliquid, super transparent perp. You know everything that's going on chain, as Brett has perfectly reported. And then you have the second component. You just have no idea what other positions those people have going on in the other direction on centralized exchanges, on Binance. And that kind of makes for a very, very interesting, basically, narrative or even story that is being told. Because as Brett perfectly said, right, CBB got massive reach with that. And I certainly believe he tried and he's still trying. And he said he's still trying to get this person liquidated. But every post that he made on that got 1.3 million views, got 700, 500K views. Stats post on that got 700K views. My post on that got 70 something K views. So yes, you create also this like dynamic and momentum in the market on top of it, but you still have no idea how some other people are using that and what they're trading in the background, or how they are maybe building a delta neutral position. But again, ignoring the legality of that, it's more than interesting to see that pair, the asymmetric pair of transparent versus quote unquote intransparent perp, and seeing this whale witch hunt, whatever you want to call it, go down.
Yeah, interesting. One of my takeaways from it, more looking at it maybe just slightly zoomed out, is again an indicator of where we are in the market, where this type of thing is something which is headline news, which is just traders playing trading games. But if there was anything really sizable or meaningful in the market in terms of other opportunities, that's what they would be doing. But like this type of, I don't know, how would you describe it? Just this, but
We're keeping ourselves entertained is what we're doing.
Yeah, like obviously there's a lot of money at stake here, but this is not like a thesis driven opportunity that someone's trying to take advantage of because there's some market opportunity. This is just like, right, this is something to do this weekend. I think that's indicative.
The kids in the yard are seeing who can buy the biggest stick or find the biggest stick. That's all. Everyone's scrambling around trying to do whatever. I will say, like in this Hyperliquid vein, that like I also had a run in with Hyperliquid over the weekend.
Okay.
Totally outside of this stuff. And it's so I want you guys to hear this and let me or see if I'm crazy. All right. So I made a post about like just like Hyperliquid, the EVM side, right? Because you know that there's the Hyperliquid core, which is like where all this perps action is taking place, and then there's Hyperliquid EVM, which is the general purpose EVM side that everyone can deploy stuff to, right, and build on. I made a post about that. Yeah, this stuff. Do you think the analogy to Bitcoin ordinals is the same, right? Because you have the same, in my opinion, market dynamics here, right? You have the NFT side, which is a small cohort of people that are propping up specifically because they think they're adjacent to a shit ton of money, right? Hyperliquid Core has been crazy successful. You have, whales throwing all kinds of money all over the place, and this small community spins up next to it and says, "Hey, because we're kind of on this chain, we're kind of doing stuff close to the money." And we make culture a thing here. Your Hypeo NFTs, like I have the Dilo gems, right? He's a big artist that on-chain artist I chase around. Do you think that it's similar to Bitcoin ordinals, where Bitcoin ordinals have this money and that like the ancient Bitcoin whale has always been just outside of reach, right? Like everyone's going to come in and bid up our ordinals to 1, 2, 3, 4 Bitcoin, right? A piece. We're going to be worth $1 gajillion. What do you think of that analogy? Do you think it's similar? Do you think I'm crazy?
I very much agree with it, to be honest. I think, yes, you have the oh my God, what are they called? The Premier collection, the Hypios. They are probably still trading at around 1 ETH. That's like the Premier community. And you have that as well on Ordinals, right? You have the Wizards there. You have the Quantum Cats and others, which is exactly right here.
Dude, they attacked me. They went after me. They think I'm a crazy person.
I've seen that conversation on the weekend, but I agree with the analogy. Like Hyperliquid is successful because you can play those whale games. And again, those whale games have been played for years. It's just maybe a bit more transparent now because they happen on chain. And the question is, what can you build that's like long-term of sustainable interest for a group of people who are perp traders? Like if you then offer superior yield farming tools, then yes, then it's going to be interesting. That is like akin to the BTC-Fi narrative, but BTC-Fi never was a thing and isn't a thing now and might not even be a thing in the future. And DeFi is like so composable in the way that you can take your solution to basically any chain. So I don't see what Hyperliquid could do, especially if you have like the Aave and stuff existing outside of their ecosystem already and has like years and billions of track record to give people a reason to want to use anything outside of the perp. So I do think that your analogy makes a lot of sense. But I also don't think that this means anything for Hype's price action. Like those are again two separate things. You can be bullish on the Hype token but bearish on Hype EVM, basically. Just how you can be bullish on ETH as an ecosystem and bearish on the token price. But I think it's a smart analogy. I do agree with you.
Yeah, I like the question. I need to think about it more to say which way I lean on it, because I hadn't thought of that before. And I feel like the Bitcoin question, sorry, the ancient whale question of whether they're going to come to get all the ordinals was like a more obvious one because of Bitcoin's history and because of the amount of wealth on Bitcoin. But the more I think about it, I think the question that you've raised, it's certainly the same argument from the NFT side that people are using to justify some of the value, right? It's like, well, this ecosystem has suddenly become super wealthy, therefore, we're going to this on the cultural side that should probably flourish.
Thinking about this for a long time with ordinals, right? Some of the NFTs, our ordinals got up to almost like what 0.7, 0.8. Like they were fucking up there for a little bit.
To 0.9 Bitcoin at one point, I think 0.8, 0.9, yeah. Which I held through, by the way, and then sold them lower. And okay, but the thing I was thinking, this is what I'm thinking, something about this live. I think that on the Hype side, they have a greater chance of the people who have made money connect to the cultural side because it's newer. And because Bitcoin values are so different and so distinct. And you know how we've been speaking about how Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and then there's the rest of crypto. So there's like, and even when we talk about the majors, we group Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol, for example, together, when really Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and then there's the rest. And so I think if you can develop a cultural economy on ETH, then you can probably do it on Sol. You can probably do it on Hype. I think Bitcoin is, look, it's still going to be there. There's still going to be people who value that stuff. But I'm wondering, as I'm thinking about this for the first time, whether that the energy created by Hype's wealth more recently means that it's closer to this type of cultural thing that's been happening, whereas Bitcoin's value was created much longer time ago, which means that it's like the gap between when the value was created and like the culture that's happening now is further apart. That's my thinking.
We're gonna see. It's gonna play out, and I hope my gem goes even higher.
Yeah, we will see. Okay, Ledge, any pushback on that final point from me, or that's just me making something up on the spot? But I think that's my thinking.
I mean, not really. I agree with the point that the longer history of BTC probably makes it more likely than still for Ordinals to be successful over this like newly built culture, but nothing else to push back or comment on.
Okay. Good stuff. Right. I can hear some I don't know if that's on mine.
There's a bit of an echo somewhere, but I think it's on your end because I had muted myself.
No, it's funky. It's funky. We need to mute him.
Oh, Funky's unmuted. Oopsie.
He's come off mute. Okay, I think that's fine now. Right, let's get into the final headline, guys. We have 5 minutes left of the show. Good Vibes Club. This is pretty encouraging, positive news. This is the news that Good Vibes Club just went from a 0.069 ETH mint to a 0.4 ETH floor over the weekend. This is pretty big, pretty interesting, because NFTs have ultimately really struggled recently to catch this type of a bid, as they've been for so long, for basically the whole cycle, been losing out to meme coins in the battle for attention and capital. Now that meme coins have taken a breather, obviously Trump has gone, Melania's gone, Libra fiasco is kind of behind us. So much of the heat has been taken out of that market as people lost tons of money and it was extracted by kind of shady insider practices. It could be time for NFTs to get a chance again. So I think this is a pretty fun collection for a few reasons. The first thing you probably need to know is created by an award-winning 3D animation studio, Toast, in partnership with SuperRare, which is the very prominent NFT platform known for hosting some of the top NFT artists' work. The team had also had history of collaborating with top brands like Meta, Google, Apple, Visa, Amex, Oreo, and Microsoft. I think generally the thing that you've noticed on the timeline is just a lot of people spreading positivity around this collection. I think what they did really well was that they managed to get a few key people involved, fairly prominent people on the timeline who minted and therefore shared it. I don't know if anyone would have necessarily thought that this is where the collection would have gone so quickly, though. This is almost unheard of, at least in recent history, for a collection to catapult this fast up. So much so that one of these pieces, I shared one in the document, as high as 3 ETH was like one of the top sales for this NFT, which Ledge is just about to bring up. It's the one a little bit later. And you know you've been around in NFTs a long time when you're scrolling through the OpenSea price feed and you're checking who bought the biggest one, and it turns out that it's someone that you know, because we were all there messing around with NFTs in 2021. This was, Ledge, you must remember, probably you do as well, Brad, Bry DeSanto, good friend from old Pixel Vault days, and then got involved with Wolf Game, and I think is advising on some more of the gaming side. So he was the person that bought this one for 3 ETH. What you can see is, what's the key trait here, Legendary? Is it like grayscale or something? Oh, you're on mute.
The super rare black hoodie, we have the grayscale as a type, and we have also the super rare matching cap and the black glasses to go with it. It's just very, very clean.
Very clean. Miss Handeden on Twitter also shared that maybe we missed this one. That was a 3 ETH sale, but there was a 9.9 ETH highest sale.
This is this one.
Oh, wow. It's pretty cool. It's funny how you can just look at a skeleton trait and just immediately think, yes, that is very cool, worth all of its $20,000.
I mean, if you look at all of those like higher sales, the one-of-ones, I presume they are. You have this one, which is also pretty nice to look at. You have this Spartan Leonidas type of golden warrior. They are beautiful to look at. Like I had minted one myself, and I saw myself scrolling over the collection over the weekend and just trying to find some that I really, really like. And I think Wales, which made the great point. I mean, that collection always had the mission to be the standard for 3D PFPs, right? And in my opinion, they are very beautiful to look at. There's a lot of variety and diversity going on in the collection. But ultimately, the success metric more than the floor price will be the PFP adoption. And what I've seen a couple people using that, it's not too many, but honestly, I can see myself rocking one of those as a PFP just from an aesthetics perspective, because I love how they look.
What do you think, if you had to say why you thought this one was so successful, Why do you think that is? And final question as we come to the conclusion for the show, because we're almost at time. Do you think that necessarily creates a bit of a shift from what was this kind of meme coin phase of the market to now people willing to spend on NFTs and participate again? I think one thing about NFT communities is that there is, I think, better participation, more community than there is with meme coin ones. What are your two thoughts there?
I think 3D is super hard because you need to kind of find that balance between having enough detail going on, and you can see how the materials, have like some imperfections, but still having a style that is coherent across so many traits, and it's not exaggerating hyperrealism, which also doesn't really work well. It's hard to have a 3D collection that's just pleasing to look at for quote unquote the masses and everyone just likes, but still have enough detail without, look at something more Disney or Pixar like, which just doesn't have enough in the details to build an entire collection. I feel like they've been executing on that pretty well style-wise. Whether that means a change from memes to NFTs, I don't think that. I just think the meme coin season, altcoin farming season, whatever, is just way more efficient than looking at JPEGs and being like, "Oh, this looks cool because it combines this and that trait." And I remember, when I had my ape still, and I was very much a fan of trying to find and charge a premium for my own ape because it had like 2 merge traits that combined really well, because it had the black cap with the red shirt, which was rarer than, I don't know, like black cap with black shirt, whatever. And people were paying premiums for that at the time, but it only works as long as the whole market agrees with that. And it's way more difficult to find the price for that. Same with the Punks collection, than just see the price of Fartcoin, and that's 35 cents or 20 cents for everyone, and it's either up or down. And that's way more efficient to trade. And I think we're not going to move back to trading NFTs the same way we used to do last cycle.
Yeah, I don't think we go back to trade them in the same way. I think there'll still be opportunities there to trade, but I think the use case for NFTs is better understood now. And so people can buy knowing the full picture of what
100%.
the potential NFT life cycle is going to be. So if you want to buy into the thing, you now know like roughly how these things play out. And so you're just so much better educated and so much better prepared for what can happen. And hopefully that should lead to some more organic participation in the market rather than it just be like purely hype fueled activity. Although those will still exist. So that is interesting. Appreciate your thoughts, boys. As usual, that was our show. We do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour. We're live on X Video, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Thank you to Legendary and Bread up on stage as co-host with me, and thank you to Funky for his contributions. As always, we will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a wonderful day. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.